Hello, Honors ELA 9. So it's going to be a while before we see each other again because we're going to be on e-learning this week, but I'm going to post a video for every assignment that I create so that way you can hear me walk through it and I can just go through step by step. If you have any questions, feel free to email me if you would like to organize or schedule a Google Meet to have me individually or with a group go over an assignment. Let me know. So for today's e-learning assignment, okay, I'm going to be posting this whole slideshow that you see, so you'll have links. But we're going to be talking about, can you create a theme statement based on reading? So Friday, y'all were supposed to record the definitions of our literary elements and your elements apply. So I expect you to be familiar with that when you come back. Newsflash, you need to be able to do that and know those terms and identify those terms to be successful for your independent reading test, okay? That's why we're going through that and breaking it through, okay? Because I don't want you to be blindsided. So we're going to be practicing with theme for today and really throughout the rest of the year. So with theme, you're going to be able to identify and analyze a theme by writing a CDW paragraph. Okay. So what do I need you to do now? Pause the video and get out your writer's notebook. So pause the video. Pause the video. Get out your writer's notebook. Okay. Because we're going to be talking about CDW paragraphs. Now, I am not assuming that you're from, ninth grade in Athens. This is probably the first time you've ever heard of the CDW paragraph. Maybe you've heard of the CDC paragraph. Maybe you've heard of the AEC paragraph if you're from Huntsville City. Maybe you've heard of the ACE paragraph if you're from Madison County. Maybe if you went to middle school last year, you've heard of the red light, yellow light, green light paragraph from last year, okay? Let's talk about and break down what are we expecting and what is a CDW paragraph, because we're going to learn how to do a CDW paragraph. We're going to learn how to write one of these because it's going to expand in how you're going to write your essays for the rest of this semester, okay? So let's talk about CDW paragraphs. It stands for claim, data, and warrant, okay? Basically, you are going to learn how to argue like a lawyer with this, okay? And I give really funny examples, and I'm going to be going back to this picture, and this is from like a board game that you can buy if you want to practice being a lawyer. Okay, let's break it down. What is a claim? Okay, a claim is your position on a subject. Every single day you make a position on a subject. Okay, what is the better app? You could say TikTok is the best app for social media. Maybe you say Snapchat is the best social media app. These are claims. These are a position on a subject that you can argue, okay? This can be something that is supported, okay? This is your supported opinion. This is something that you can prove with what we're going to be talking about next, okay? But remember, if you don't remember anything, a claim is your position on a topic. So this would be like your topic sentence of your paragraph, and it is something that you can support. It's something that you can prove. So let's talk about an example. School should start later in August, okay? So we actually start school pretty late compared to our neighboring districts, but school, maybe you want it to start on August 30th instead of August 12th, okay? So school should start later in August. This is an opinion, so this is our claim, okay? Now, how are we going to support this? How are we going to support this claim that school should start later in August, okay? Let's talk about it. We need something called data. Data is also known as evidence, okay? This should always be cited, and you have to have evidence. You have to have data in order to be taken seriously. I literally had a conversation with somebody very close to me that I said, in this social media post you made, you had claims, but you didn't support them with data, okay? And so that's not legitimate because you didn't cite anything. You just were saying things as facts and saying that but they're actually your opinion. You don't actually know if it's true or not because you have no evidence, okay? So with data, you always have to have solid evidence. So something, and we'll be talking about that when we get into research later on this semester. Um, with writing, you always need to provide context for your data, okay? Or else your reader is going to be confused. And then you need to be able to answer this question: how can you prove your claim with examples from the world or your text, okay? So let's give an example with my context sentence and my evidence here. This is supporting my claim. School should start later in August. Well, okay, why? Temperatures in Alabama tend to stay in the 90s until September. For example, the average August temperature in Muscle Shoals is 91 degrees, okay? Or, yeah, for example, the average August temperature in Muscle Shoals is 91 degrees. And then I have a link that is cited, so you can go to the website, and I have it in my nice ELA citation right there, okay? That's how you cite a website with no author. So with that in mind, I have my context. Well, what is my evidence about? Well, my evidence is that the average August temperature in a North Alabama city, this was the only one I could find. I didn't want to use Decatur. I wanted to use Muscle Shoals, okay? Athens was not listed, so I chose Muscle Shoals. But I'm not jumping in. I'm not just saying, for example, the average August temperature in Muscle Shoals is 91 degrees. It's like you're just jumping into the point. You know, it's like saying I love you without talking to somebody for at least 2 weeks, okay? You want to provide some context. So you want to talk. You want to get to know the person, okay? So that's why you want to provide context. Temperatures in Alabama tend to stay in the 90s until September, okay? Easing my reader into what I'm going to be talking about it. I'm providing like providing a bridge here to my evidence. And that's why I'm going to say you always need context before you give your evidence. Okay. Now we have to go to that W. What does the W stand for? Well, the W stands for warrant. Okay. This is also known as commentary or explanation, because a warrant is where you're doing a lot of explaining, okay? So with that, a warrant is where you are the lawyer. You explain your data and prove it by explaining how your data, your evidence, supports your claim. And so you are taking your evidence and using logic, where you're connecting the dots, to prove your claim. Let's take a look at this picture right here. So we have our lawyer, our lady in the purple shirt. She is our lawyer. And then this is like the other lawyer, okay? But let's see. So obviously, I think that this person is like playing, it's a game of Clue. And so she's trying to prove that one of the other players, committed a heinous act. And she has evidence. But the lawyer is never just going to say, I believe that Colonel Mustard killed the person with the knife, okay? That wouldn't fly. That would just be like, okay, you're making a claim, we have to prove it. So she has a piece of evidence, an actual picture of a bloody kitchen knife. Oh, that's disgusting. She has that picture right there. And then she's walking it through. She's saying, well, we have evidence of this knife, and because we have this evidence and the DNA in the blood matches, or the DNA on the handle has the fingerprints of Colonel Mustard, because that is matching, that proves my claim that Colonel Mustard was using this kitchen knife to commit this heinous crime against the victim. Okay, so you see how it's not like, look, there's a kitchen knife, he did it. No, she is saying, I'm walking you through. I'm doing step by step to connect the dots, so that way there is no way you are confused about how my evidence proves my claim. So let's review with a warrant. Your warrant is explaining your evidence and explaining so how that evidence proves your claim. So it's doing two things there: explaining your evidence and proving your claim. So let's see your example. let's see how I explain my evidence here. 90-degree temperatures mean that schools are using air conditioners constantly to maintain cool air in the schools. If schools started later in the year, then schools would not have to strain their air conditioning systems as much, thus saving the school districts money. Okay, so I am using my warrant. I'm explaining my evidence and how it proves my claim. Okay, so I might even need to do something where I change my evidence to explain how 90-degree temperatures have, higher air conditioning costs. That might be stronger, but I'm explaining right here why this means like 90-degree temperatures are a reason why it's proving my claim, why we should back that up. So let's put it all together into a CDW paragraph, okay? School should start later in August. Temperatures in Alabama tend to stay in the 90s until September. For example, the average August temperature in Muscle Shoals is 91 degrees. 90-degree temperatures mean that schools are using air conditioners constantly to maintain cool air in the schools. If schools started later in the year, then schools would not have to strain their air conditioning systems as much, thus saving the school district's money. Let's break it down even further with color coding. So, school should start later in August. My claim in green is my data that has my context and my direct text evidence from an article, and then everything in blue is my warrant. Pause the video. Okay, now restart. What has the most in this paragraph? Is it yellow? Is it green? Is it blue? The correct answer is blue, because the warrant should be your longest part of a CDW paragraph. It should not be 18 lines of data. You want to be specific with that. Your claim should not be 18 lines, okay? Your warrant needs to be the longest part because you have 2 jobs to do with it and you need to be thorough. Okay, brain break. Pause the video here again and stretch and think. My dog is not behind me, so I can't show him to you. I'm sorry about that. Brain break. Okay, now we're back. How can we apply CDW to talking about writing? Okay, we're going to be talking about how can we prove that an author is talking about a theme, one of those terms that we learned from last week. Okay, but we also learned about a main idea. Let's review theme versus main idea. So first, let's talk about a theme. A theme is a universal message about life, often implied by an author. Implied means it is not stated directly. This is where a theme is not a moral. So the author is not trying to teach you a lesson, okay? If you are watching, let's say like a really deep movie, like an artsy movie, the director is not going to come on and be like, the moral of the story is blah, blah, blah. They're not going to do that. It's going to be implied, okay? So it's going to be applied about life. Whereas our main idea is a little different. Remember, our main idea stays in the book. It stays in the book here. It is literally, what is the book? What is the story? What is the movie about? Okay, so we use that sentence stem. The Outsiders is about a boy that comes of age in the face of the deaths of his friends, while facing the deaths of his friends, okay? Main idea of the story. Whereas the theme comes out of the book. That's why I have this arrow right here. The theme is outside of the book because it's more universal. It's about life, okay? So the theme goes beyond the text. It is a message about life that we learn or see after reading or watching, okay? That we learn after reading. So let's talk about theme statements. So when we are writing about themes, this could be a claim of a CDW paragraph. So if we're writing a topic sentence, we need to have our tag, our title and author, genre if you want to be extra, but we need our TA. In title by author, the author conveys the theme that blank. What's your theme statement that's more than one word? Okay. Your theme statement must be more than one word. So here's my example. In The Outsiders, comma, prepositional introductory phrase, in The Outsiders, Hinton conveys the theme that social class cannot define a person. Okay? Conveys a theme. Here's my theme. Social class cannot define a person. That's what we learn. One of the things that we learn, a message about life that we learn from reading The Outsiders, because it's about socias, it's about greasers. And we learn that greasers and socias can't be defined based on their social class. What not to do is doing this. Okay, in The Outsiders, Hinton conveys the theme of class. Just one word. Okay, that's way too broad, and it's not a specific theme. That is an idea. That's something we call a thematic idea or a concept. And it's not a theme statement. And if you do one word in anything that we do, you're going to get counted off, okay? Because a theme is not one word. It's more than one word. Okay. Now let's practice this today. And I'm going to ease you into CDWs because I want you to get it right. And so I'm going to put some training wheels on, and then later on I'm going to take this training wheels off. So we're going to read a story today, and this is one of my favorite stories I've ever read. And it is called Shame by this man. His name was Dick Gregory. And so Dick Gregory was a comedian and an activist and just a writer he became really popular in the 1960s. He grew up in Missouri and was born in St. Louis, Missouri. And he was born in 1932. And so this story takes place when he was in school in 1939. And so if you remember 1939 in a state that was considered Southern, which Missouri was considered a Southern state, it took place during segregation. So my people who are reading Secret Life of Bees or A Lesson Before Dying, you know that the South at this time had two worlds, okay? So you had pretty much like an apartheid state where you had white society and then you had African American society, okay? So Dick Gregory went to an African American elementary school, okay, because it was segregated. There were two schools. There was not just one community school or one elementary school. There would always be two schools legally at this time. So that's something really important to know because he's going to use something called antiquated language in it. We're going to be talking about this throughout. But you're going to see some words in there that refer to African Americans that we don't use anymore. And they're not like racial slurs, but it's just antiquated language. We've progressed as a society that we don't use these terms anymore. So I just want you to be aware of that while we are reading, okay? This is a great story though, and it's going to be, I want you to think about it, is how is Mr. Gregory's experience at school different from Nicolas Gage's experience at school in this story that we read about the teacher who changed my life? Because he had a teacher who changed his life as well. But was it for the positive or was it for the negative? Okay. So you're going to read it. It's only 1.5 pages. Y'all can do it. First thing I want you to do is be able to answer, what is the main idea of this story? Why was the story titled Shame? Okay. Then you're going to finish the CDW half right. So this is going to be the assignment. It's called a CDW half right because I've halfway written the CDW for you. I supply the data. I want you just to write the claim and to write the warrant, okay? So let's take a look at it. This is what it looks like. Your job is to explain how Dick Gregory conveys a theme about shame in his short story. You must write a CDW paragraph, okay? Here's the catch. I'll give you options for the theme, and then I'm going to give you the quote. Okay, so, and quote from the story. Your job is to fill out the sentence stem for the claim and provide a warrant explaining the quote and providing reasoning of how it proves your claim. Okay, after reading, you're going to pick one of these themes. Words have power to hurt individuals, or shame can scar a person for life. Okay, you get to pick which one you want to write about. Then I've already given you the quote I want you to use. So the quote is, "It seemed like the whole world had been inside that classroom. Everyone had heard what the teacher had said. Everyone had turned around and felt sorry for me." Okay. Next step. In this box, in the step 3 box, you are going to write below, in Dick Gregory's short story, Shame. So I have my introductory prepositional phrase and I have a whole tag. Gregory conveys the theme that blank. You're going to delete this in your own copy and write one of these themes from up above. In the story, Gregory's teacher shames him by telling the whole class that Gregory's family is poor and that he does not have a father. Context. Gregory writes, "It seemed like the whole world had been inside that classroom. Everyone had heard what the teacher had said. Everyone had turned around and felt sorry for me." Your job is to prove, how does this quote prove your claim of one of your themes? How does it show this theme, or how does it show this theme? Okay, your warrant has to be a minimum of 2 sentences. Okay, you can't just say it is because it is. No, not enough. I would like this to be 2 to 3 sentences. Okay, so that's what you're going to be doing. I'm going to be grading you via this rubric for mastery. Okay, so are you fully answering the plot or the prompt? You're clearly identifying the theme, and are you clearly explaining the data and justifying your claim? Okay, that's what I expect. That's what, to get the full 20 points, that's what I want to see. Okay, I want to ease you into CDWs because I want you to get used to seeing that I am not just plopping in a quote. I'm introducing the quote. I'm providing context. I'm using my introductory prepositional phrases, which is why I have you use those. And I want to see what you can do now. Okay, so that is your assignment for today. And I'm going to be ending this screencast. Goodbye. Have a great day. Let me know if you need anything, and goodbye.